A wonderful new addition in Cubase Pro 9 was the sampler track. In this video, we're going to take a very quick look around the sampler track to see what you can do. First up, the new Kaleidoscope sample pack comes with hundreds of samples and track presets. You can load them into the sampler control as you would with other instruments, or you can load and save presets from within the actual sampler control itself. You don't need to load them in, you can just select them to preview them. Over on the left-hand side, we've got our automation buttons. So yes, everything can be automated. To the right of that, you've got snap to zero crossing, which is handy for editing start and end or loop points. You can load samples up from an external file location, and when you do load up samples, it automatically detects the tempo and the pitch. You can change the pitch mapping up here, or you can easily do it down the bottom in the piano scroll. You can also change how many notes there are in the piano scroll. The looping functionality on the sampler control is easy and it's simple, and that is exactly what you need for very quick sampling. The continuous setting will mean it'll go to the end of the loop point and then back to the start of the loop point, which we can change, by the way. We just pick up on these tabs. And we can also change the crossfade on the loop point. Alternate will mean it'll go to the end of the loop point and then reverse, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Once we'll just loop once and then continue going. And there's a couple of other neat loop settings. Next up, we've got the one-shot button, which will cancel out any of the loop information. You've got the MIDI reset, you've got the fixed pitch, you've got the reverse button. And of course, if you hit the reverse button, you may need to change your start and end point. And you can see just how fast and easy that is to do. We can select monophonic, so only one note will play at any point. And one of the coolest features is the ability to transfer this sample to a number of different Steinberg instruments. The arrow buttons in the top right-hand corner will maximize and minimize the sampler control. As always with Steinberg products, there's superb integration, and you can just drag and drop samples straight over from the media bay. I loaded in a Kaleidoscope track preset before, which also loaded in effects, so double check that. You might want to be careful dragging and dropping samples from the media bay with any distortion or any sort of maximizer over the top. Here's a dirty old sample, a double bass that I've just dragged over, and it's a whole line, so I'm just going to capture this first note very quickly. Quickly put a fade in there to get rid of some of that ambient noise. The higher I play, the faster the sample plays, but we can go into the audio warp section where there's two modes. Music's for more complex samples, but if I go to solo mode, I can start working with the format. And this will start changing or aligning the length to my project. And every sample will be the same length. We can transpose. We can put a glide in. And then we've got a filter section. So lots of different filter types. And of course, different filter shapes. And you see this throughout Cubase instruments. So that's all in there. We can control the volume and of course the pan over on the right-hand side. But more importantly, there's an envelope for the amp, for the filter, and for the pitch. So we can draw envelopes in over the top of whatever we're doing in these sections, and that's really neat. Each envelope section also contains Bézier curves, so a little bit more flexibility there. A nice neat thing in the envelope section is the ability to loop the different envelopes or envelope sections. So at the moment, it's just looping backwards and forwards between these 2 points, but we can also select one shot and also sample loop. You can also zoom in and out using the buttons on the right-hand side, and you can hold down Alt with your left hand and just draw a section in your mouse to zoom in. And finally, you can change the pitch bend amount. Thanks for sticking around for a quick overview of what you can do in the sampler track. There's plenty of videos around me on how you can achieve killer sounds using the sampler track, so please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channels. I'll see you there.